Hello everyone. This video is a summary of your Chapter 1 from the textbook Business Intelligence, Analytics, and Data Science, a Managerial Perspective. The authors are Ramesh Sharda, Dursan Deolan, and Efren Turban. The reason that I'm doing this recording is because I think most of the university textbooks are too lengthy and redundant in the content they are delivering. The reason that the book is written in such a lengthy and redundant format is because the textbook try to give you a lot of details, case study, and from a lot of these details, information, and case study, they believe that students can learn much more. However, based on my observation, a lot of these students, especially non-traditional students, when you do not have enough time to read in detail of the entire textbook, you need some help in facilitating. Well, in this case, will be the professor that guide you through the process of understanding the chapter. Cut right into the key point so that you will not waste too much time spending a lot of time reading in the minute detail that will distract from your learning. Nonetheless, reading in details and spend time to obtain the information and to convert that into knowledge is still the fundamental of learning. So this video lecture is not replacing your reading. Instead, it gives you an alternative way of looking at the content you may or may not have time to go over in the time you have for your study. As the title suggested from Chapter 1, it's an overview of business intelligence, analytics, and data sciences. Now, I want to withhold my definition of these three terms for now. And actually, you can find the definition of these terms from the textbook or from the slide as well. The effort tried to differentiate between business intelligence, analytics, and data science. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, is not that important. Using a layman's term, regardless you're looking at business intelligence or business analytics or data science, it all really doesn't matter unless you can get job done. So get job done is the focus of anything that you are learning in this particular course, regardless of the name. What I will do in this summary is I will go to a particular slides or a few pictures from this textbook and telling you what I think are the most important items that you should be paying attention and think a little bit deeper about the implication those either framework or illustrations or concept that textbook try to deliver to you. The textbook begins by giving you a lot of example that using sports analysis as an example of how analysis or business analytic or data analytic can help you to make a better decision. I will not explain too much about these examples, but for those of you who are movie lover, I would recommend that you watch a movie called Moneyball that was produced about 15 years ago. It is a very famous case of using statistics as a main tool to help a baseball team win. So the long story short is that using business analytics and statistics or business intelligence or data science, whatever name you want to call it, is to help you or help everybody or help people to make a better decision. Regardless it's selecting of the players in the baseball team or make a plan for a company to buy or sell a certain product or try to approach a particular customer. So in general, that business analytics is for decision making. With the idea of decision making in mind, you can take a look at this particular figure, figure 1.8 from your textbook. It gives you a brief history about how analytics has been used in the business world. In general, that as you can probably find out, looking at the entire history of business analytics, it's a lot of this keywords called decision is coming up from different places in different time. In particular, in the 1970s, that was the arise of the computer information system. Using computer as a tool to study data, we end up with this particular discipline called this business analytics. Over time, you see that a lot of these buzzwords has coming into the picture, including big data, including enterprise resource planning system, including dashboard, data warehouse, artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. All these are leading to one important task in business and the most essential business, essential skill in the business world. That is making a better decision. The differences, however, between like 50 years ago from the 1970s to now in the 2020s is that the speed of data processing is different. The timing of the report is different. The way and the amount of data we can obtain to do analysis is different. Much bigger, much faster, much larger. So the speed of change has impacted the entire field. That is what we have today in terms of using data as a powerful tool, strategic tool for decision making. Now, one of the important questions to ask as a student, especially a student from a business school, is how do I position myself in the ecosystem or in the environment of data business analytics? The question can be answered from figure 1.10, this particular diagram here. So generally, this diagram classify or try to tell you what kind of job is being performing by different stakeholders or technology in the whole pictures of business analytics. It can easily be divided into three parts. One is something called the data warehouse environment. So a lot of people and the technology together need to work in the data warehouse preparation, building data, that environment. The second part is the focus of this particular course. It's called the business analytic environment. Our job is using the data prepared by the technical professional and using a tool that is present available to us. Try to come up with some sort of analysis and report that can be used for the strategic decision or even operational decision performed by the right hand side that you can see called the performance and strategy world. So the performance and strategy world is in general discussed in most of your other courses: marketing, management, strategy, organization behavior, human resource, and so on and so forth. All these has certain performance and strategy component involved. When you enter a business analytic course, your job now is try to discover and learn or know some of these tools that you can use to help you using data to support everything else you learn in the business school. In terms of defining business analytics or data analytics in general, this particular figure I found is actually very good comparing to many different models that have been presented on the internet or in other textbooks. It will be a good idea and a very general understanding of whenever you see a business analytic problem, technologies, or situation, you try to think about how can I classify that situation or the purpose of the problem or the intention of the tool into the following three categories. One is that you want to use a tool or the analytic method or concept to do descriptive uh, in terms of problem solving, describing something, describing the situation, describing the who is your competitor, how do I compare with your competitor, that sort of thing. The second and most important thing is can I use this data as a predictive tool? Try to build something that you can predict the future, even a very slight, not very robust prediction of the future. As long as you can predict slightly better than other people, you have the advantage. So prediction is another purpose of business analytics. The third one is to prescribe a solution. For many computer information system, one of the purposes you build the system is to provide an automatic tool, a tool that do not need human intervention to um, perform a task, complete a project. For example, you build a robot so you can assemble the product on the assembly line, building a car and that sort of thing, or even self-driving car. But in decision is a more abstract task that human beings performing. Can we actually guide or even make the decision for the human being? That is the model or the tool methodology we're learning in the business analytic world to build a some sort of algorithm that you can use to prescribe a solution to a problem solving situation. One good example that you probably have learned from your production operation management course is that you probably learned there's something called the optimal inventory level. How much inventory you need to buy given the cost of the warehouse, the cost of delivery, the demand on the market. So based on those factors, we can come up with a formula. That formula is a prescriptive model. And if you extend that a little bit further, you will probably find that a lot of this prescriptive model in today's environment is actually built by artificial intelligence. So the artificial intelligence model, which we will introduce near end of the semester, that actually has some way of come up with prescriptive solution for many complicated problem we are facing as a human being. So descriptive problem solving, predictive model for predicting the future, and prescriptive model for providing human being with an easy to use solution are the three purposes of business analytics. Using the classification method, you can actually classify the technology and the method you use into this subcategory. In terms of the terminology we can learn from chapter 1, there are a couple of terminology I like to sort of like introduce and make sure that you hear over and over again, especially from my professional consulting experience. I found that you need to know these terminology in order to talk to the technology professional. You will not be trained as a technology professional, but as a business student, you have the application in the future as a person, the middleman that communicate the idea between a business person and a technology person. And one of the terminology that is not showing on the slide is that when you read the textbook, there is the terminology called OLTP. And what the terminology you see on this particular slide is OLAP. Now, OLAP stands for Online Analytic Processing, and OLTP stands for Online Transaction Processing. The difference between these two terms, OLTP and OLAP, is that OLTP is for data collection. OLTP is a fancy term, but as a matter of fact, using the layman's way to understand is It's pretty much the transaction processing system that we use every day when you go to any retail store. So say, for example, you go to Walmart, you try to buy something, and the machine self-checkout kiosks or the salesperson scan your item, and those information being collected. It's called transaction processing. So all these data will be kept in the database somewhere. That OLTP is the terminology describing the data acquisition technology or process. OLAP with the A in the abbreviation or the acronym here stands for analysis or analytic. It basically telling you that we are trying to present some sort of analysis using the data. OLAP system nowadays is in general the best way to understand it is that if you're using Microsoft Excel, there is a very important tool you got to learn as a business student. That particular tool is called the pivot chart or the pivot analysis. If you have experience or have done some pivot analysis, then you can pretty much say that you know how to do OLAP or OLAP analysis. A more modern OLAP analysis is based on the data warehouse technology, which is the terminology you see right next to the enabler technology here. It's called data warehousing. But the basic concept is the same. Now, in this particular course, I have designed a tutorial and an assignment for you to kind of review or learn pivot chart, pivot table analysis using Excel and or any spreadsheet tool that is available to the course, depending on the technology your instructor selected. So without too much detailed explanation, let's just try to remember OLAP is a technology, is a method that similar to what you do in Excel pivot analysis. Once you know how to do a pivot analysis, you can perform OLAP analysis. Another learning obstacle in the technology world is that every once in a while, actually not every once in a while, every day you will hear new acronym, new terminology, new buzzword, new jargon coming out of this technology world, and it confuses people, and you don't know where you are and what you're dealing with. And so when the people are talking to you in those jargon and terminology, you suddenly get lost in the process. Now, of course, with the help of search engine, Google technology, and the cell phone mobile technology we have, you can, of course, do immediate research, try to figure out what those terms are. But even though you can do search and read article online, sometimes it's still hard to get a sense of what they are dealing with. So in that regard, that I have a recommendation. The recommendation is that for any technology related terminology or tools or thing that people are talking about, you will try to put those terminology in a framework. And this framework presented on your textbook, Configure 1.13, will be a good way to understand what you are dealing with. If you can successfully or at least attempt to classify the terminology or the thing you encounter into one of these blocks, you will be more or less confident in talking to people of the thing you're dealing with. And on this particular slide, in particular, I want to kind of focus your attention to the outer layer of the ecosystem. This includes data generation infrastructure, data management infrastructure, data warehouse provider, middleware provider, data service providers, and analytic focused software provider or developer. Now, why do I want you to focus on those outer layer? Because I think it is a very good classification to sort of like group the technology we're using in the data analytic or business analytic into a reasonable subgroup, and we can classify company based on those subgroup as well. For example, when you look at Facebook, now Facebook is a social platform, Twitter social platform, social media platform. It actually is an infrastructure from the user's perspective. It is the infrastructure that generates a lot of data every day. So every user, when you visit your Facebook page, visit your Instagram page, or reading a Twitter tweets, you're actually generating data. And so in a way that you can see, it can be classified as a data generation infrastructure. On the other hand, if you look at a company like Oracle, Oracle is a company traditionally they provide data management. They also provide a large data warehouse server technology. So Oracle is on the right upper corner of these two groups, provide solution to those two groups, and so on and so forth. Some other popular companies such as say Tableau, a very popular data visualization dashboard building software technology. You can call them an analytic focused software developer, and so on and so forth. So every time you encounter now in a business intelligence, data analytic, data science world, now you can try to attempt to try to assign a group or two to that particular technology. For example, I can give you one simple task here. People talk about Python a lot. So where does Python as a programming language or as a tool fit in this particular ecosystem? There is a point of debate that we can go and talk about that, but I'm gonna not gonna start that discussion here. But I will leave that question open for you to think about how to use this framework as a tool to understand any technology come to your understanding or conversation in your job or in your day-to-day learning. Finally, chapter 1 give you a summary of what this textbook is all about and how the chapters are organized based on the purpose of the business intelligence or business analytic purpose. So it divided into descriptive analysis, predictive analysis, and prescriptive analysis based on the classification method we saw earlier. And also there are two chapters talking about future trend in terms of artificial intelligence and big data. We will focus in the middle three category or middle three process in the entire semester, the three different type of analytic. In particular, I want you to have certain confidence in using tools to do descriptive analysis and do a little bit predictive analysis using in this particular course. We will be using a method called regression analysis for building prediction model. And that is, as a professor, what I think that's most important point to be learned and delivered in chapter number 1. I'll talk to you again in another chapter summary.